Most people talk themselves out of success without even realizing it. And the worst part? They think complaining is harmless, but it's secretly destroying their momentum, their mindset, and their results. Complaining solves nothing. Execution solves everything. That's the hard truth no one wants to admit. You can cry, vent, and explain your pain 1,000 different ways, but the world doesn't respond to noise. It responds to movement, to strategy, to discipline. It's easy to talk about how hard life is. It's easy to get caught up in what's not working. But the more you focus on what's wrong, the more you become trapped in it. Execution, on the other hand, is ruthless. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for motivation. It simply moves. It finds the next step, takes it, and repeats. While others are stuck in the cycle of wishing and whining, the one who executes quietly builds results that speak louder than any excuse ever could. Success doesn't show up for those who make the most noise. It shows up for those who take the most aligned action. When your energy is scattered by frustration, when you waste your time talking about the problem over and over again, you fall into the trap of false productivity. You feel like you're doing something, but you're just circling the same drain. Progress comes when you shift focus from complaint to commitment. When you stop asking, "Why is this so hard?" and start asking, "What can I do right now with what I have?" That single mindset shift is the line between those who stay stuck and those who rise. Every complaint is a red flag for a lack of responsibility. That's a brutal fact most people can't handle. Because the moment you complain, what you're really saying is, "I refuse to take control." You're saying it's someone else's fault. It's someone else's job to fix it. But here's the truth. The moment you give up responsibility, you give up power. And when you have no power, you can't create change. You're just a passenger in your own life, watching the same cycle play out again and again. High-level individuals know this. They've trained themselves to recognize the urge to complain as a signal, a warning light that says something needs to be owned, not blamed. When something goes wrong, average minds look for someone to point at. Extraordinary minds look in the mirror. They ask themselves, what part of this is mine to own? Not out of guilt, but out of hunger. Hunger to grow, to adapt, to take control. Responsibility isn't a burden. It's the beginning of all transformation. But most people never realize it, because they're too busy running from it. The louder the complaint, the clearer the sign that responsibility is missing. And if you're not holding the wheel, don't be surprised when your life keeps spinning out of control. Why do some people keep growing no matter what, while others stay stuck in the same cycle for years? The answer is simple, and it has nothing to do with talent, luck, or timing. The more you complain, the more powerless you feel. Complaining isn't just a habit, it's a mindset, and it trains your brain to focus on what you can't control. Every time you complain, you reinforce the belief that the situation owns you, not the other way around. You're telling yourself, "This is bigger than me. I have no options. I'm stuck," even if you're not saying those exact words. Over time, that mentality becomes your identity. You start seeing problems in everything. Opportunities get smaller. Solutions feel further, and you start waiting for someone else to fix what only you can change. The real danger. Complaining feels good in the moment. It gives you a hit of temporary relief. You offload the stress. You feel heard, maybe even validated. But nothing actually improves. Meanwhile, your belief in your own ability to change your life weakens. Power is replaced by pity, and pity is a trap that turns potential into paralysis. The people who win in life are not the ones who had it easiest. They're the ones who refuse to give their power away. Instead of feeding weakness with words, they fueled strength with action. They realized that every time you complain, you're putting energy into the problem. But when you take action, even the smallest step, you shift the energy into the solution. You either feed your frustration or you feed your future, but you can't do both. High performers vent in silence and release through action. They feel the same pain, the same pressure, the same overwhelm that everyone else feels. But they've trained themselves not to make noise about it. They've learned that talking about problems without acting on them doesn't solve anything. They understand that the more energy you give to complaining, the less energy you have for building. So instead of posting about their struggle, they push through it. Instead of seeking sympathy, they seek solutions. They know that execution is louder than emotion. That's what separates the high performers from the average. It's not that they don't struggle. It's that they struggle differently. They keep their heads down. They stay consistent. And they move with purpose, not pity. They don't need a crowd to cheer them on, because they've built an internal standard that doesn't depend on applause. They don't collapse when life gets hard. They get sharper, more focused, more relentless. That's why their results speak volumes, even when their mouths stay shut. Complaining may give you attention, but action gives you transformation. And the people at the top didn't get there because they complained the least. They got there because they acted the most, even when it was hard, even when it was lonely, even when no one noticed. There's one thing that silently kills more dreams than failure ever will. And most people carry it around every single day without even noticing it. The louder the blame, the smaller the ownership. Blame is the easiest escape from responsibility. And that's why so many people use it. They blame their boss, the economy, the education system, their parents, their childhood, even the weather. Anything to avoid looking in the mirror. But here's the harsh truth. The more you blame, the less you grow. Because blame takes the steering wheel out of your hands and gives it to something else. It convinces you that your life is happening to you instead of through you. And as long as you believe that, you'll stay trapped. Nothing changes until you take ownership. You can't fix what you refuse to take responsibility for. If your mindset is wired to find someone to point at every time something goes wrong, you'll never develop the mental strength required for success. Blame keeps you busy, but it doesn't move you forward. It gives you comfort, but never growth. It protects your ego, but destroys your progress. People who win in life have one thing in common. They own everything, even the stuff that's not technically their fault, because they understand that extreme ownership is the fastest way to take back power. They don't ask, whose fault is this? They ask, what can I do better next time? And that question alone changes everything. It shifts your focus from problems to solutions, from weakness to strength, from victim to leader. Winners don't have time to complain. They're too busy improving. Improvement is a mindset, and once you tap into it, you stop wasting energy on things that don't move the needle. You stop talking about people and start building skills. You stop looking for excuses and start finding strategies. Every complaint becomes a redirection, not to more noise, but to more action. When you're obsessed with becoming better, your standards rise. And when your standards rise, your tolerance for distractions drops. You start cutting out people who gossip, situations that waste time, and habits that keep you small. You become so focused on your mission that complaining feels like a luxury you can't afford. The best performers don't wait for ideal conditions. They create progress under pressure. They don't cry about what's missing. They maximize what's already in their hands. That's why they keep winning. It's not that life gives them better cards. It's that they play theirs with precision and discipline. While others are ranting, they're refining. While others are pointing fingers, they're pointing forward. They understand that growth is not something you find. It's something you build, one uncomfortable step at a time. And you can't build anything while your energy is being drained by complaints. The real ones stay busy building a life that doesn't require excuses. Every word you speak is either pulling you closer to success or pushing you deeper into failure. And most people don't even realize the damage they're doing to their future with their own mouth. Your words either attract results or repel them. What you speak, you start to believe. What you repeat, you reinforce. And what you reinforce, you become. If your daily vocabulary is filled with phrases like "I can't," "This always happens to me," "I'm tired," or "It's not fair," then don't be surprised when your life starts reflecting that mindset. Your words are seeds, and your life is the harvest. People speak failure fluently, and then wonder why they never win. They're cursing their own progress without even knowing it. What you declare out loud becomes a script for your brain to follow. That's how powerful language is. The most dangerous form of self-sabotage doesn't come from other people. It comes from your own mouth. And the problem is, the more you speak weakness, the more comfortable you become living in it. It becomes your identity. You start building limitations into your belief system until even opportunity feels out of reach. That's why winners speak differently. They talk like builders. They speak with clarity, intention, and vision. They speak strength into situations that look impossible. And it's not fake confidence, it's alignment. Because they know their words are tools, not toys. They use them to shape outcomes, not complain about them. The way you talk when no one's watching, when nothing's working, when it's just you versus your dream, that's the voice that determines everything. You're either programming your mind for greatness, or giving it permission to settle for average. Energy spent on complaints could build your next breakthrough. That's the cost people forget. Complaining feels harmless, but it's expensive. It drains your time, focus, discipline, and drive. And none of those things are unlimited. Every second you spend complaining is a second you could have spent creating. Every moment you dwell on what's wrong is a moment you could have used to make it right. And this isn't about toxic positivity or ignoring problems. It's about choosing where your energy goes. Problems don't get solved by staring at them. They get solved by working through them. The people who win big in life know how to redirect their energy like a weapon. They don't waste it on gossip, blame, or whining. They pour it into strategy, learning, and execution. That's why they grow while others stay stuck. It's not because they had fewer obstacles. It's because they had fewer emotional leaks. Complaining is like a slow leak in your tire. You don't notice it at first, but over time, your momentum dies, your speed drops, your confidence crashes, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're running on empty. The difference between average and exceptional isn't talent. It's how you use your energy. You can either drain it with complaints or fuel your comeback, but you can't do both at the same time. You're not stuck because you lack time, talent, or tools. You're stuck because of one habit that's quietly killing your progress. And most people never realize it until it's too late. The habit of complaining is the addiction to staying stuck. Most people don't see it as an addiction because it's socially accepted. It's normal to complain. It's easy. It makes you feel connected to others, especially when they're complaining too. Misery builds friendships that keep you broke and broken. But underneath all that noise is one brutal reality. Complaining feeds stagnation. It keeps you mentally glued to your current circumstances. Every time you open your mouth to talk about what's wrong, you're reinforcing it. You're putting energy into the problem instead of into the possibility. That's why complainers never elevate. They don't change their thinking, they don't change their habits, and they don't change their results. It becomes a loop. Wake up, complain, repeat, and soon that loop becomes their life. They wonder why nothing improves, but refuse to see that they're fueling the very thing they claim to hate. It's comfortable to complain because it demands nothing. Action is hard. Accountability is painful. But that's where transformation lives. When you kill the habit of complaining, you create space for vision. You give your mind permission to build instead of break down. You take your focus off of what's wrong and put it on what's next. That's how progress starts. Not with luck or motivation, but with the decision to stop giving power to powerlessness. You cannot complain your way into greatness. Only grind your way there. Greatness doesn't respond to noise. It responds to effort. The grind is not glamorous, but it's honest. It doesn't care who you are, where you come from, or how unfair life has been. It only measures what you do with what you have. Complaining keeps you in a passive state. It makes you think talking about something is the same as doing something about it. But talk never changed the world. Grit did. Discipline did. Relentless execution did. You can either sit around discussing the obstacles, or you can get up and bulldoze through them. But you can't do both. The path to greatness is built in silence, with late nights, early mornings, missed parties, rejected ideas, and unseen sacrifices. It's not about who makes the most noise. It's about who keeps moving when no one claps, when it's boring, when it's hard. That's the grind, and it doesn't tolerate weakness disguised as complaints. If you're serious about rising, then your energy has to match your ambition. You can't keep talking like a victim and expect to lead like a warrior. You have to show up even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unfair, even when nobody understands why you're still going. That's how greatness is earned, not through words, but through unwavering, consistent, focused action that refuses to stop.